You're watching the Dakota Drive on KFYR Plus with sports director Luke Gamble. Sponsored by Trusted Tire and Auto.
Welcome to the Dakota Drive, a rainy Monday afternoon. It's going to be a fun week. We're getting in here a couple minutes later than we usually do, so we're trying to get some things set up still. But, man, we have hit the full swing of things for playoff season, and couldn't be more excited to talk football playoffs this week. We got a guest. We're planning to have Coach Andy Cook from Killdeer come on here in just a couple of minutes. He's going to join us to talk Killdeer football and the Cowboys in great position as back-to-back region champs. They're going to be stepping up against Trinity this week, and that's going to be a inter-region playoff game. Two teams that have already played against each other. Trinity got the best of Delax Burlington over the course of the weekend on Saturday. Killdeer won their playoff game pretty much with ease. Killdeer taking care of business. Trinity winning by one possession over Delax Burlington. And that's how we get to where we are today. The Cowboys have been a fantastic team all season. Their lone loss of the year coming against a Montana opponent, which we talked a little bit about last week with John Oderman, the head coach of Trinity's football team. The Cowboys' lone loss coming to the best team in Class B in Montana and the defending state champs, so certainly still a reputable loss for them. But what Killdeer has been able to do this season has been fantastic. They have, handled things with ease in a year where I think a lot of people may have thought that they would be trying to figure things out after having a super successful last year and trying to repeat that success. I think a lot of people didn't think that they would find the ease of being able to repeat that success the way that they have been able to so far. But they have certainly made it look pretty easy out west. So we're going to see if we can get, let's see here. Just going to try to pull up graphics here of what the brackets look like for Class A this weekend, and 9-man, and then those two will be into the second round of their playoffs. So here's the Class A bracket. As we take a look, Killdeer on that upper right quadrant. They're going to be taking on Dickinson Trinity, as we said. On the upper left side is going to be top-seeded Langdon against Hillsborough Central Valley. And as you can see, Class A was all chalk this week. All of the seeded teams winning to advance, so no upsets in Class A. Not the same in 9-man, where things were a little bit more topsy-turvy, but we'll get to that in a second. Bottom left, the defending state champs, Velva Drake, Animus Garrison. They're back into the quarterfinal round once again. No surprise there for the Aggies. Park River handling things against Lisbon. Ellendale beating Grafton to advance to the quarterfinal round, and Bottineau defeating Central McLean at home this week. So all of those teams winning on their home turf. Now things get shifted around a little bit. Bottineau going to have to go on the road in the quarterfinal round to take on Ellendale. Trinity doesn't have much of a road trip. We heard John Oderman say it last week. They were pretty happy with the way that the bracket shook out, because this meant that they didn't have to go very far. They'll just have to take the trek about 20 to 30 minutes north of Dickinson, 25, 30 minutes north of Dickinson to take on the Cowboys. And we'll talk a little bit about it. Hopefully we're going to get Coach Andy Cook on here in just a few minutes. And that game was kind of a weird one between Killdeer and Trinity. Those two teams playing on that week where we had a lot of rain and a lot of games got moved from Friday to Saturday. Some people tried to jam their games in on Friday, and then they ended up, moving the rest of their games to Saturday after they couldn't get the entirety of the game in on Friday night. Trinity and Killdeer, the only team that I'm aware of, I'm not 100% sure if it was the only two teams that did it totally across the board, but they started their game on Friday and then they didn't finish it until Monday. So that was a much different situation, and Killdeer ends up winning that game 27-23 in a game that was really close. So it's, it's not like it was a blowout or anything, and then it was just, okay, we just got to find the time to finish this game and, let the clock run. I mean, this was a definitely a weird circumstance, a different circumstance for Trinity and Killdeer. So it'll be interesting to see how this game plays out in its entirety between two really good teams. Trinity, obviously, always very good defensively, something that head coach John Oderman talked about last week on our show, and then their run game has been fantastic. On the other side, it seems like Killdeer just keeps finding weapons out of nowhere. The Bombach brothers have been incredible this year. They have come in clutch multiple times for them. I think it was 2 weeks ago that one of them had 6 touchdowns. And then this past weekend, it was Michael Dukart who had 10 catches for 108 yards and 3 touchdowns. Then he also scored on defense. And then Arian Ohoto was defensively, man, he was a standout. 2 fumbles, recording a rushing touchdown as well in the win. So the Cowboys are just coming up with guys over and over again, and it's like, okay, where did this guy come from? Where did this guy come from? They seem to keep finding athletes. Obviously, they have another guy on their staff, Nick Walker, who has a ton of coaching experience that is fantastic as well. And so I know Andy is overjoyed to have Nick Walker in his corner to help him out every week. But let's take a look at that Class A bracket one more time, just real quick. Velva Drake Animus Garrison against Park River in that bottom left corner. That's going to be a good one this weekend as well. Velva, always tough to play there on a Saturday in the fall. Folks there love their football, that's for sure. The Aggie faithful will rally behind Velva DAG. Up top, Langdon getting a chance to host Hillsborough Central Valley. Hillsborough took down Thompson in the first round of the playoffs. So, honestly, regardless of who gets through on that top left side, it's going to be interesting to see who makes it to the semifinal round out of that Killdeer Dickinson Trinity game. That one's going to be an exciting one. Let's talk a little bit about 9-man football here as well as we transition to that bracket. And this one is where we had some fun in terms of not being all chalk, having some upsets, if you will, quote-unquote upsets based on seeding throughout the bracket. And, the region down here in southwest North Dakota showing that they don't have any issues playing against some undefeated teams, a pair of I should say a pair of undefeated teams. Divide County had 1 loss, but Alexander undefeated going into their game. And, the guys from down here in the southwest corner that weren't seeded all making a statement. Grant County Flasher with the win over Divide County on the road. Napoleon Gackle Streeter going all the way up to Alexander, getting a win on the road against 4th-seeded Alexander, the region champs out of Region 3, also an undefeated team. And then South Border in that bottom right corner, they make that long road trip to North Border. I think we talked about that on here for just a couple of minutes, but, super, super long trek up to North Border and get a win. And this weekend, it's going to be a completely different story as they have a really close game against Linton HMB, a team that they're obviously very familiar with because they used to be in the same conference together, or same region together. Obviously now the regions have shifted around and those two don't get a chance to play during the regular season, but I know from a fan standpoint, it's going to be very exciting for those fans, coaches, players that have such close relationships with the folks down the road in Wishick. So this is a look at your 9-man bracket and kind of how things shook out. New Rockford Cheyenne, I believe they scored 80 points against Hatton Northwood. Just an incredible performance for them. They're playing with heavy hearts after losing a teammate early last week. And the Rockets just taking care of business, showing why they're the number 1 team in the state, and now showing that they have a little bit extra to play for. So our thoughts certainly go out to the folks in New Rockford there. On the top right corner, Lemoore Litchfield Marion takes here 4 wins pretty easily. Kidder County and Mohawk Lansford Sherwood, MLS. That one was a close game. MLS actually led at the half, 20-12. Kidder County just continuing to show up in games and making big plays at the right time. We had Connor Hill on here a few weeks back, and he was talking about, guys just knowing that the game's never over, and Kidder County certainly showing that. We plan to have more from them this week later on KFYR. But this is a look at your 9-man brackets. Just shooting out a text here to Coach Cook, see if we can get him on in the next couple of minutes. But the 9-man bracket going to make things interesting now that there's so many teams in there without a number beside their name. Now that there's so many teams in there that don't have a seed. When you talk about South Border playing against Linton HMB, we've talked about it a few times on here. Linton HMB is a beat-up team. I talked to head coach Evan Melmer from South Border last weekend before they played that North Border game, and he said he felt pretty confident about it. He knew that they weren't going to be able to go up there and sleepwalk, but he felt like his team had a chance, and certainly they made a statement getting a win over the number 6 seed team, the Eagles, in North Border. Grant County Flasher, Jamie Krenz and company getting a big win over Divide County, and now they set themselves up to go on the road against the number 1 team in the state. That's certainly not going to be an easy feat. So Grant County Flasher is going to have their hands full there. Napoleon Gackle Streeter getting the win over Alexander. They go to play against a Hakinson team that admittedly I don't know a ton about, but I'm excited to see how that game shakes out, especially with Napoleon Gackle Streeter being a team that maybe we haven't talked as much about, or maybe, I don't know. Maybe we haven't talked as much about. We talked about them early in the season a lot, and then in that region, it's so bunched up with teams that have 2 losses that it's just kind of an interesting situation because there's so many undefeated teams in 9-man there at the end of the regular season, typically how it goes every year, and in that region particularly, it ended up being a bunch of 2-loss teams that made up right behind Linton for the 2, 3, and 4 spot. But we're going to shift our focus back to Class A as we get ready to talk about the Killdeer Cowboys a little bit more in depth here with head coach Andy Cook. The Cowboys, like we said, the back-to-back region champs, and they have got a familiar opponent on the other side against Dickinson Trinity. The Titans going to have to make the short road trip north to take on Killdeer, a team that they had to go and play earlier this season. And Coach, first off, I'm going to get you set up here, but first off, you get a win in the first round, which I know is one of those things. Hey, you can't overlook the first rounds, but I'm sure that it would probably be safe to say that you guys are excited about the second round matchup as well. So kind of walk me through what Saturday looked like for you guys and kind of, if you learned anything about your team from getting through that first round playoff win.
Yeah, it was a great win. We were certainly happy to have it turn out the way that it did. We have improved defensively a great deal over the last 3 weeks or so, and that was evident again on Saturday. It was a great opening round win for us, and now it's on to the next game.
How many defensive touchdowns did you guys score? 3, 2?
No, it was just 1, but we got a couple of timely fumbles there. But yeah, it was a big win for us there. And like I said, the defense sure performed better than we had in some of those games a month or so ago.
Yeah, well, now you get to go against a Trinity team that obviously they're very good defensively too. I mean, they I think probably had the lowest scoring game, if I remember right, in Class A this past weekend. So how do you prepare for that? I know you guys, when you played earlier in the season, it was 27-23 we'll get to that in a second. I know that was a weird game, but how do you prepare for a Trinity team that you know is always going to be really solid defensively?
Well, you have to make sure that everybody just does their job. Don't try not to overthink it too much. Stick with what got you there. They're very, very good up front. Their defensive line is amongst the best that we play all year, if they're not the best. Um, and just stay assignment sound, and if everybody does their job, we will be in an ideal situation then. But trying to do too much is always what gets you in trouble.
So walk me through the first time you guys played. You play on that weekend where there's a lot of rain on Friday night and things like that, and there were games across the state getting canceled. My first question is what was the thought process between finishing that game on Monday as opposed to like a Saturday? Is that just how scheduling worked out between the two teams, or how do you guys decide that?
Yeah, looking at the weather forecast, it looks like there was a decent chance that we were going to get more lightning and rain on
Mm,
Saturday during the day. So we took
that
the
makes
step
sense.
just to say, let's look at the forecast, and it looks pretty clear on Monday, and let's come back and try that. And we were able to decide that on Friday before everybody left. So that was how that came about. And man, it made for a long couple of days, and I'm sure they would say the same down at Trinity, where you're just like, man, we let's get this thing over with and get it finished. And yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I'm assuming you haven't been through many games like that as a coach, but how did you spend those two days? What did that look like? I mean, was that a lot of anxious pacing around the house, pacing around the school, the locker room, trying to figure things out? Because then it's getting guys ready to play a half of a game. I know that's a weird situation. So how did you prepare in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, we watched some film. We talked as a coaching staff. The one thing that we didn't want to do was make any big sweeping change. Um, we didn't want to confuse the kids. We didn't want to have a situation where all of a sudden we didn't really know what we were supposed to be doing. So that was the biggest thing. Just make a couple minor tweaks. But then, like you say, the time that you spend waiting for the game to get back going again, it was a little nerve wracking. There were definitely some moments of pacing, followed by some moments of relaxing a little bit, and then back to pacing. And yeah, so it made for a long couple of days.
Yeah. Well, obviously now you get ready for a four-quarter game on Saturday, right? What's just talking about the season as a whole? Obviously, last year you're undefeated in the regular season, and there's so much talk around you guys. We're out there, and everyone wants to talk to you. And obviously, the success this season has um, been at the same point, but to have that one loss on your schedule, you obviously make the trip out west to play against a Montana team. But how important was that game for you guys? One, to not have a bye on your schedule and to be able to fill that week, where I know some teams weren't able to fill that week. How important was that? And then two, how important was it just in terms of, getting to see different competition and getting the guys to kind of learn some more things about themselves?
It was really critical for us. We went out and played Malta, and Malta was the defending Montana State champion. So a very, very solid program. They've got a wide receiver on their team, Dawson Hammond, who I think is signed with the Grizz. So, a very talented team. And we felt like we needed to experience that long road trip and go and play a really quality opponent. We knew it was going to be an uphill climb because they're a very, very good team. But it was crucial for us to go and play somebody else. And like you say, don't kind of rest on your laurels during that bye week. I know that there were times when we thought maybe we should have just stayed home and gotten a little bit healthy, but certainly the positives outweighed any negatives there. And I think it was a fantastic experience for our kids, and it kind of gave us a wake up call right when we needed one. So it was definitely worth the journey.
Yeah. And I mean, we say that, but it's not like you guys got blown out of the water either. I mean, you scored against them. You were in that game. It's not like it was a completely one-sided affair. But now that you turn the page and you prepare for Trinity this week, and it's obviously a team that you're super familiar with, a region opponent, a team that you've seen this year. How do you prepare for them for round 2, knowing how close round one was for both sides?
Yeah, it goes back to what we talked about earlier, making sure that everybody knows their job. I think that's the most critical thing is you have to know what you are supposed to do. It's the old Bill Belichick thing, just do your job. They're very, very good. I mean, you can't sugarcoat it. Hugh Meyer is a phenomenal player. They've got him surrounded with other phenomenal players, and they're a very, very good team. They're well coached, and they'll be prepared to play. So, again, you can't overthink it. You can't, try and reinvent who you are for one game. You've got to go out and pay attention to the details and do what's been successful for you over the course of the year.
Well, we were talking a little bit earlier about you guys. Last year you had so many talented athletes, and I know you graduated some of those guys. But how fantastic have the Bombach kids been this year? I mean, I think there was one game that one of them had 6 touchdowns 2 weeks ago or something like that. I mean, how it seems like consistently they've shown up for your team and made a huge impact. What can you say about those 2 guys and just how important they've been to this team?
Well, they're critical. They're extremely hardworking kids. They had an older brother who went here before the 2 that we currently have now, and he was a very hard worker too. They kind of set the tone for the program in that they don't miss workouts, they don't miss weights, they don't miss practice. They are at everything, hooked into everything. They want to know exactly what's going on. They want to know about the game plan, not just their position, but other positions, so they know what's going on around them. They're very cerebral, to say nothing of the fact that they're both extremely good athletes. So we're certainly happy to have those 2 on our side.
Yeah. And last thing, kind of going back to Trinity one more time, you mentioned Hugh Meyer on the defensive side of the ball and how good he is on the defensive line. But then you have to turn around and stop him on the other side of the field, right? So, and it's not necessarily that they have a offense where they're going to go put up 60 points a game or anything, but how do you slow down an offense like that when you know they've got a running back who's going to kind of be a 4 yards in a cloud of dust kind of guy?
Well, we're certainly taking recommendations, so if anybody's got a plan and they want to send it over, I'll be happy to take it. He's a great player. He's extremely hard to tackle. So, you can see his ability as a wrestler really shine through here. It's tough to get your hands on him. He knows how to slip and get through stuff. And, keep in mind that Hugh's a Division I athlete. He's a Division I wrestler. And, that's nothing to scoff at. And it shows up on the film on both sides of the ball. And, yeah, he's tough to tackle, and they have got a very sound run scheme. They've got a lot of willing blockers on their team, and you've got your hands full when you play them for sure.
Yeah. Just very last thing, really quick. Obviously, if that Trinity game in the regular season goes the other way, you could easily be the number 7 seed in their seat, right? So you could be taking the short bus ride 30 minutes south. How big of a deal is it for you guys to have this game at home on Saturday?
Yeah, I don't know how big of a deal it is because the stands are going to be full no matter what. Because it's like you say, it's just a short drive for either team. It's certainly nice to have things at home, to have that level of comfort at home. But I think there would be just as many Killdeer people at the BAC as there's going to be, at our stadium on Saturday, and the same for Trinity. So it's going to be a wild game, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Coach, for joining us. We appreciate it. Killdeer getting set to take on Trinity this weekend. Andy Cook, we appreciate your time, and best of luck this weekend. We'll be there. I'm sure it'll be a thriller.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so Killdeer getting set to host Trinity this weekend. A lot of eyes are going to be on that game in Western North Dakota for sure. Our eyes will certainly be on that game as well. Before we got into before we just jumped right into the show, I forgot to mention our other guest who's going to join us in about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. Is going to be head coach Jon Jahner of the Bowman County cross-country team. They won another state title last week, and that's kind of like copy-paste for those guys, right? Another state title for Bowman County. Nothing goes better together than Bowman County and running. Trying to explain that. Obviously, we have a new member on our KFYR sports team, and trying to explain what running means to people in Bowman County. It's almost hard to explain, but I think you see it on a day like Friday when there's parents out there running around just as much as the kids are, because they're trying to chase their kids around on the course to see where they're at position-wise and cheer them on and that kind of thing. Always cool to see, and the people down there have always been good to us and to me. So I really appreciate those guys, and excited to talk to Jon here soon about continuing that tradition of excellence in cross country and track as well that they've succeeded at. But before we get to that, we're going to talk a little bit more football. We got through the 9-man and Class A brackets. I wanted to talk about Class AAA and Class AA. Those two games, those two playoffs getting set to start this Friday night. So you'll have AAA and AA on Friday night, Class A and 9-man on Saturday. Certainly exciting into the week, into the season, regular season for AAA teams. We had that huge Century Bismarck game late in the regular season, or last game of the regular season, the rivalry between those two teams. We'll pull up the bracket here for what AAA is going to look like. Century going to be the 1 seed after defeating Bismarck in the last game of the regular season. They'll host West Fargo Cheyenne at the Bowl on Friday. In that bottom left corner, it's going to be Legacy as the 3 seed out of the West. They'll play against West Fargo Horace. Legacy beating Mandan on Friday to punch their tickets to they had their ticket punched to the playoffs, but to clinch that 3 seed in the playoffs. So that was a big win for Legacy at home. And then in the top right, you've got Mandan, the 4 seed. They fought a Legacy in that last game of the regular season. And so now they'll get the chance to take on top-seeded Fargo Davies, who has been a juggernaut, for lack of a better terms. They have been the consistent team out of the east side of the state. Obviously so hard to stop with the offense that they run and everything that they do. They've just been a fantastic team all year. So Mandan will have to make the trip east once again. That seems like a constant thing for them the past few years. And then Bismarck, they fought a Century on Friday night in the WDA title game, or essentially what the WDA title game was, and they'll get the 2 seed out of the West and take on West Fargo. So Bismarck going to be a home team as well. They'll play in an interesting one. They'll play at 4 o'clock on Friday. So that's going to be a little bit different setup for them. It'll be a little bit different setup for us, but it'll be a doubleheader at the Bowl between Bismarck and then Century playing in a 7:30 kickoff, or 7 o'clock kickoff, I believe, against West Fargo Cheyenne. Legacy will have to go on the road to face Horace, and that's that team that defeated Legacy by 1 point at Legacy early in the season. That was an incredible game. We were at that one until the very end. I was at that one until the very end, and it came down to literally the last second, no time on the clock, scoring a touchdown, and then kicking an extra point to win the game. So it doesn't get much better than that. But I'm going to take a pause real quick to show you this, just in case you haven't seen it. While we're talking all this playoff stuff, I want you to know about our hub for how you can keep up with playoff football across the rest of the season. And you can find that on our website. You just navigate to the sports tab right up here, and you'll be able to find destination Dakota Bowl 33. This is our website that's going to be able to, or web page that's going to keep you up to date on everything that's going on throughout the playoffs. You'll be able to find highlights up here at the top. We've got all these brackets that we've shown you today, along with scores. We did some previews of teams in the first round, and you can see 9-man Class A. We've got Class AA's previews in here as well, and then we've got Class AAA in here to go along with it. So go to your computer, go to your phone, bookmark this webpage, come back and visit it every day if you want to. Come back and visit it every Friday and Saturday, though, for sure. And over the course of the weekends, we're going to get this thing updated with scores, highlights, you name it. New brackets as the playoffs continue. That way you can see what's going on, get updated on the latest. We'll throw our stories in there as well that we do with teams throughout the week. So excited to have that once again, something that we did last year that we're trying to build on this year. And kind of makes it easy to access everything in one place. That's the idea for us, to be able to connect with you in an easier way and keep you updated on everything that's going on. So Destination Dakota Bowl, if you Google that with KFYR TV, you'll be able to find it pretty easily. Dakota Bowl 33 this year, going to be in Fargo that November 14th. And we're certainly excited for that. But we're going to transition here to talking about Class AA. And here is the playoff bracket. Minot North, the juggernaut that it has been, completes the undefeated regular season. They'll take on Red River in the first round on Friday night. Believe it or not, as small as AA is, I think this was the most surprising thing to me. As small as AA is, this is the only rematch game in Class AA in the first round of the playoffs. And so I was just kind of surprised by that because of the fact that AA is relatively small in terms of the number of teams that there are and all of that. But they'll take on Red River, a team that they defeated pretty easily in the regular season. Red River, the 4 seed out of the East. In that bottom left corner, St. Mary's going to take on Central Cass. Central Cass at the AA level for the first time this year after this move to the new format. So the Squirrels in AA moving up from single A year ago. They'll take on St. Mary's. The Saints finished their regular season with a win on Friday night on the road against Jamestown. Pretty close game in the first half. Pretty exciting game in the first half. Can't say enough about Beckett Price, man. The running back they've got is phenomenal. Another 100-plus yard game. He leads the WDA in rushing yards and touchdowns. I can't remember how many he had on Friday night, if it was 2 or if it was 3, but he's somewhere around 14 or 15 total touchdowns on the year. He's phenomenal. St. Mary's certainly going to have their hands full, though, as they go on the road to Central Cass. In the top right corner, the top seed out of the East is Kindred, undefeated. Them and Minot North, the only undefeated teams remaining in Class AA. They'll get the joy of hosting the Wofford City Wolves. We had Jim Dooley on a few weeks ago. Wofford City, obviously hard to stop because they do things so uniquely on offense, and certainly gives them an advantage. So I don't think this is a cakewalk game by any means. Devil's Lake found that out the hard way against Wofford City as the Wolves really put them to the test last week. Devil's Lake, the 2 seed out of the West. Still weird to see Devil's Lake in the west side since this reformatting of the high school football playoffs and high school classifications. They'll take on Grand Forks Central, who's the 3 seed out of the East. So Grand Forks Central will travel to Devil's Lake in Class AA, and that's gonna be a whole lot of fun. That AA bracket. It kind of seems like we don't want to rule anyone out too early, of course, but kind of seems like Minot North and Kindred could be on a collision course in the bracket to go to the Dakota Bowl. If that's true, that's certainly going to be a heck of a ball game. But those are your AA brackets for this coming week. That'll get kicked off on Friday night. And as we said, go to Destination Dakota Bowl on our website, and you'll be able to keep up with everything that's on there in terms of highlights, scores, previews of games, recaps of games, things of that nature. And we've got all all of the classes in there. So be sure to keep that bookmark through the middle of November, because we will have that going through the Dakota Bowl and keep it updated through the day of the Dakota Bowl. So we're going to shift gears now a little bit to college football, because we had an exciting one. Well, I don't know if you'd say exciting. It was a fun game if you're a North Dakota State fan, maybe a not so fun game if you're a South Dakota State fan. But it's the game that everyone was talking about over the course of the weekend, right? North Dakota State going on the road, getting a win against South Dakota State in a massive way, and by massive margins, 38-7 over South Dakota State, and winning the Dakota marker once again. This is now 3 straight wins for NDSU over SDSU, including the playoffs. And Cole Payton, you see it there. First half, so lopsided. Early in that game, -3 rushing yards for SDSU. But Cole Payton, certainly phenomenal once again. He didn't have any throwing touchdowns. He went 18 for 23, 243 yards. So he only had 5 incompletions, and one of those was an interception. But you got to remember, that was just his second interception of the season. The rushing game was what worked, though. 17 carries, 137 yards, and 4 touchdowns for him. Barika Pino added a rushing touchdown as well. Cole Payton averaging 8.1 yards per carry, though. I mean, that's pretty fantastic. Now, you obviously have to mention the fact that South Dakota State was without their starting quarterback. A lot of people would point to that and say, hey, what if South Dakota State had their starting quarterback? And yeah, I think you can say what if. I think if you're saying it out loud, I don't really know that them having their starting quarterback would have made a huge difference with the way that NDSU dominated that game. The only score of the game coming in the second quarter for the Jacks, and you got to think NDSU is missing a couple of pieces on their own as well. Jackson Dutenheffer from Mandan, certainly one that we're still thinking about, but up front on the defensive line, he's a big asset that they didn't have. So is there still a possibility we could see these two teams in the playoffs? Yeah, certainly. We could get a chance to see them match up in the playoffs, and then it might be a situation where we do get to see them with their starting quarterback in the fold, and that could change things. That would be interesting to see if we get that matchup. South Dakota State, I had to double check here, but South Dakota State falling to 4th in the FCS rankings as of this morning. So they're tied with Montana State in that 4 slot after previously being ranked 2nd. That was obviously a 1 versus 2 matchup down in Brookings. So South Dakota State doesn't slide very far. North Dakota State now receiving every vote in the polls in terms of the media polls, the Stats Perform FCS top 25 polls, and rightfully so. I think they're 8-0. Right behind them, Tarleton State 9-0, and then Montana 8-0 as well. So that's how things look for the top 3. North Dakota doesn't move after another huge win for them. They stay at number 8 in the rankings. So that's going to make things interesting because obviously they are undefeated in conference play. NDSU is undefeated in conference play. So they're the only ones that are still undefeated in the Valley Conference, which could set up for something huge just over a week from now. But first, North Dakota has to go on the road and play South Dakota on Saturday. That one going to be a 1 p.m. kickoff before, things move on to getting ready for North Dakota State. So if UND is able to handle business against South Dakota, then it'll be interesting to see if they move up at all, if that ends up being maybe a top 5 matchup in Grand Forks next week. South Dakota did drop out of the top 25 as of this morning. They're 5-4 on the season. They're 3-2 in Valley play. So South Dakota not necessarily trending upwards by any means. North Dakota State will host Youngstown State on Saturday, getting another home game Youngstown State, UND handled them pretty significantly easily in their matchup. So I'm not sure that if you're a Bison fan that you have a lot to worry about. I think it's going to end up being two undefeated conference opponents going head-to-head in Grand Forks at the Alaris Center on November 8th, which is, I think, exactly what people in North Dakota want to see. But just looking at the stats, I mean, Jerry Kaminsky, Jerry Football, as the folks in Grand Forks have been calling him, he was phenomenal once again. 22 for 34, 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, and he had 1 interception. So seems like UND has their quarterback situation figured out for sure with the way that Jerry Kaminsky has been playing all season. To see him and Cole Payton on the same field in a week and a half, 2 weeks, whatever you want to call it, I mean, I couldn't be more excited for that matchup. I don't think people in North Dakota could be any more excited for that matchup. Sawyer Seidel finished with over 100 yards rushing for UND as well. Obviously, UND, Jerry Kaminsky had a rushing touchdown as well. So you got to remember that because he's, kind of the same way as Cole Payton. We know that he has the ability to hurt you with his legs. But UND, I mean, it's, a game like this against Indiana State, of course, you're going to see a lot of guys get in and see the ball. But Caden Dennis, 5 receptions, 97 yards. Let's see on the stat sheet, you've got 8 guys that touched the ball just receiving. So, I mean, they've been impressive. But Jerry Kaminsky against Cole Payton in 2 weeks, that's going to be something that people are going to be locked into. Cole Payton, we mentioned how good he was just across the board numbers-wise on Saturday. He only had 5 incompletions, but just passing on third down alone, he was 8 for 9 with 125 yards, 7 first downs to 4 different receivers in that span. And I think that's another number that just pops off the stat sheet. That just is crazy because Cole Payton isn't doing it by himself. He's not doing it just with, he's not just doing it, by throwing the ball to Lance or Raja Nelson. He's getting the ball across the board. So there's no shortage of talent and skill in Fargo for sure. And it's setting up to be a huge game that could determine the Valley Conference winner in a week and a half time in Grand Forks. But we're going to switch gears, get off of football here, and start talking about a little bit of cross country as the Bowman County Bulldogs get another state title into their trophy case. And how phenomenal for Bowman County. Their 6th straight for the boys program, 21st overall, I believe. It's been a fantastic run for them. Their girls program finishing as the runner-up, so they've been fantastic too. We're going to get Jon Jahner on here in just a second. As then in the Class A level, it was Bismarck High winning on the boys' side, Williston taking home another title on the girls' side. But Bismarck boys, they've now won 3 straight as well. And we talked to one of their top runners, or their top runner, the state champion, Owen Hentz, last week. He was in the sports spotlight, but he wins the individual championship. And then Ruby Immels, who we had on a couple of weeks ago, she won the Class A individual championship, and pretty handedly, might I add. I think it was like 1 minute and 5 seconds or something like that. But we're going to welcome in the head coach of Bowman County's program, as we just said, the Bulldogs winning another state title. Does it ever get old? Do you ever get tired of hearing that? I mean, are you like having to make more room in the trophy case at this point? Like, where are we at?
Yeah, it never gets old. That's for darn sure. We sure enjoy it. But we're super thankful for the blessings we have. Had some great runners over the past 10 years, and it's just really awesome to work with those guys each and every day. So, trophy case is full. That's a cool thing. We just keep shuffling them around, but I don't mind that job. So,
yeah. Well, you've certainly had a lot of talent come through there. I mean, and And for your boys team, I mean, I know this year looked a lot different because you kind of had a run there where you had, 3 or 4 guys that everybody knew their name, and everybody across the state knew who they were, and certainly some of them that are still there, they know their last names at least. But this year did kind of have a different feel from the outside. What was it like for the inside in terms of, Warner being gone and having to replace him? Obviously, you still have Jonah there, but what was it like from the inside in terms of figuring out those spots?
Yeah, the fun thing is each year is completely different. And we can go back to when we lost Austin and Caleb. We knew we lost leadership, and then it's like, man, we're losing Taylor. We're losing some monster leadership. Who's going to step in? And Jonah just filled that void so awesomely. Guy's just amazing, and as good a runner as he is, he's 10 times a better human being. That guy is just, he's an awesome kid. So what a great leader to have. And our hope is just that our younger kids get to learn from that, and then put their spin on their leadership, because we can't ask anybody to be Taylor or Jonah. We have to ask them to be themselves, and they have to lead within the construct of how they lead. So it was definitely different. It was, this is the first crew that we've had come through that didn't taste defeat, which is definitely a motivator. Taylor was a 7th grader when we lost to Newtown, and that stung. It stung hard, and so those kids always carried that kind of that chip with them, and this group didn't. They didn't have that chip, so it was really fun to see those guys come together and do what they did.
And Newtown finishing as the runner-up. I asked Jonah about that. I mean, how special it has to be for those guys that they've been there for that long. A guy like him that's been there for that long and has experienced that much success. For you as a coach, how do you handle that though when you do have so many guys that have had that much success?
They're a special group of gentlemen. I'm not going to lie. They never cease to amaze me, one. And two, they don't take anything for granted. Their training is spot on. They work their tails off all summer long. They come in, they do workouts. They're running on their own every single day. There's not a whole lot I have to do in that realm, which is really, really awesome as a coach. I can kind of let them do their thing, and they don't have to listen to me every day. So that is really kind of a neat thing. Those guys have just really taken ownership of their training.
Well, you obviously having the Warner guys at North Dakota State now, and I know they aren't the first guys to go on and run at a high level. And you've got Caleb Sarsland at Dickinson State, who I want to ask you about in a second. But to have a guy like Jonah Nace that was a 2-time individual state champion, and now has all these team state championships to go with it, and that's not even including what he's done in track. What can you say about him and just what he meant to this program, and I know he'll still mean to this program as he goes into track season?
And we preach to our kids over and over that's kind of always the hope, is that you leave something better than you found it, and that hopefully you leave a positive impact on what you leave behind, right? So Jonah's gonna move on from this program, but hopefully the lessons he's taught us all, myself, Coach Bowman, all of our kiddos, all of us included, hopefully he left a stamp on us that we're going to take and make us better people. And I for one can say that he passed that test with flying colors. He's made me a better human being, and I love that about him. So that's just our hope to our kids all the time, is leave it better than you found it, and make sure that you leave a positive impact on people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, your girls finished in second place by just the slightest thread. But I feel like I have to ask about the girls, and how proud you are of their effort to go out there and make the margin as close as it was, and finishing runner up to Hillsborough Central Valley.
Yeah, that's been a 12-month talk for us. And we know how good they are. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention those Hillsborough girls. Probably the best Class B girls cross country team I've ever seen. They're unbelievable. And we knew that we had something special here. We still have something special here. We knew that we had a shot at them if they just opened the door. And our girls were absolutely phenomenal. I could not be more proud of them. When you get to a tiebreaker, then you're always constantly looking, oh man, what if we could have got here? What if we could have got there? And we go through the results, and every one of our girls led their pack. It was, 3 seconds to the next girl. It was 3 seconds to the next girl. I watched those girls come through the line. I saw them afterwards, and they left everything on the course. I mean, it was all left on the course. They were toast when they got done. I could not be more proud of what those girls did. It was absolutely phenomenal. Just a great race from those guys. And, everybody's like, well, can't we just tie? And there's no ties in cross country, man. That doesn't happen here. No such thing. So there's going to be a winner. There's going to be a second place. I'm just so darn proud of those girls and how they performed. Everything that Coach Bowman and I asked them to do, they were there, to the nines, and they did everything they needed to do. We came up a place short, and, so goes life.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, because that is always an eventful part to watch. Is just not just the girls, guys too, but the people that are physically collapsing at the line. And I think the first one I remember in the girls' race was one of your girls that just her legs gave out as soon as she crossed the line, and somebody was picking her up. Hillsboro, Claire Grindy finishes first. They go 1 and 2. Hillsboro does. But I've got to ask you, as somebody who is very familiar with, running in the state and stuff like that, Claire Grindy winning back-to-back and being an 8th grader, how good is she? I mean, is this something that looks different than any other runner? Where does she stand in terms of, you having experience seeing so many good runners in this state?
Yeah, she's unbelievable. I love watching her run. I love watching Caroline run. Those two girls are unbelievable. I don't really know if we truly understand how blessed we are to watch the kids we get to watch compete. And this is taking nothing away from Claire. She's unbelievable. Her 7th grade dominance, her 8th grade dominance, but you go back 4 or 5 years, and there's a lady in Des Lacs who is doing the same thing. And she's amazing. So just getting to watch these kids race and compete is unbelievable. There'll be never be another so-and-so. There will never be another so-and-so. Well, there's always another one. I just want to stay in the moment and really enjoy watching those kids compete. I've got nothing but the utmost respect for those ladies. Everything that they've done. I love watching our girls. They're phenomenal. I love watching them compete. It's fun. And that to me is one of the beauties of cross country is, we're competing against each other, but it's really a competition against yourself. At the end of the day, you're really racing yourself. And if you leave it all on the line, we're going to be happy with where the chips fall. It is going to be what it's going to be. But we get to watch these kids compete day in and day out. What a blessing. I mean, how awesome is that to watch these kids just go out and compete? The Class A guys watching the Emos kids, watching the Bismarck boys, the Williston girls. It's just awesome to see. It's so fun to compete with those guys. In the Class B ranks, it's just fun to compete with those guys day in and day out. And we just have to relish it. We have to slow down, take a step back, and be like, man, that was awesome. And I just got to witness all these great kids and what they're doing. There's 377 of them on the boys' side. And I mean, I don't care if you ran, 15:30. I don't care if you ran 19:30. They did something special that day. And that's really the cool thing about it.
Yeah, that number 377, that's crazy to think about. But I wanted to ask you about Caleb Sarsland, former runner of yours that's at Dickinson State now, and he keeps pushing the ceiling higher and higher. Just this past week, he broke the cross-country 8,000-meter school record that stood since 1986 for Dickinson State. He ran a time of 24:21.5. First off, how proud of you are you of that kid, and how cool is it to see him continue to push things further and further now at the college level?
He's awesome, man. Caleb is just a great guy. He's probably the best leader I've ever coached, and I mean that in the way he treats everybody. He makes more phone calls than I've ever made in my life, and he's constantly, picking on kids. Hey, you need to come do this. Hey, you need to come do that. The things that guy did behind the scenes for our program is nobody knows but Caleb, and he has just been awesome. I'm not surprised where he's at right now. I'm really not. That guy is a class act in every single way. I'm glad he has Coach Schwartz to work with in Dickinson. I think that's made a huge difference for him. Caleb's one of those kids where, man, he's going to buy in, he's going to believe, and he's going to give you 110% every day. And what more can you ask from a young man? And the guy is just awesome. I'm so glad that, the fruits of his labor are coming. I'm wishing him luck for the next couple weeks, along with the Warners and everybody else. We got Pacer X running at BSC, a couple more of those. So we got them spread out all over the place, and just, hopefully that those guys just continue to have success.
Yeah. Well, Jon, we appreciate you coming on, man. Thanks so much for taking the time. Congratulations to you guys again. Hopefully, I mean, you said you don't ever get tired of the feeling, but you got another Coach of the Year award. I mean, does your wife just have like a wall in the house, or what are we doing with all these Coach of the Year awards?
No, the kids keep telling me we need to put them up, and I've kind of got a stack on my dresser that I haven't quite gotten to that chore yet.
Humble guy,
my
just
wife
sitting
gives
on the
me
dresser.
plenty of other chores that's my excuse why they aren't up. But we'll have to do something. I don't know. So just enjoy the fact that I get to coach with those guys. I mean, the coaching community that we have. I mean, in cross and track, the guys that I get to work with, the ladies I get to work with, it's a blessing every day because they are all awesome. And so we don't know how good we have it here in North Dakota with the people that we have in cross country and track. I'll go to the hill. I'll die on that hill. We have some of the best people coaching there. Some of my best friends, and it's just awesome to work with them.
Yeah. Well, congrats again, Jon. I appreciate it. Thanks so much, man.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for all the coverage. It was awesome to see you guys there.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a good one. All right, Jon Jahner, the head coach of the Bowman County Cross Country and Track Program. And certainly the Bulldogs will be a team that we're talking about again during track season because, as we know, they are always going to make an impact there as well. And they've got some phenomenal runners, some phenomenal athletes across the board. But that was our second guest of the day, Jon Jahner. If you missed Andy Cook, the Killdeer head football coach, earlier in the show, be sure to go back and check that out. We'll have it online here shortly. But it's going to be an exciting week here. District tournament play-ins getting started for volleyball. District tournaments getting started for volleyball. That's something that's, going to continue to change and be different for us with the 3-class volleyball system, and then football, WDA volleyball kind of winding down their season. We've got a fun spotlight coming on Wednesday with a WDA volleyball player that has taken the state by storm, for lack of a better term. That's going to be Jenna Nelson from Dickinson High School. So excited to share that story as Dickinson makes a push for the state tournament, and they're very well in the mix in year 3 under Taylor Hafner. Then high school football playoffs are going to be full steam ahead on Friday and Saturday. We'll have tons of coverage. Be sure to check out that Destination Dakota Bowl article on our website where you can find all of our football coverage for the postseason. And then another thing I wanted to mention is just UMary Soccer sitting in 7th in the NSIC standings after a pair of wins over the weekends. They're very much in the picture to make a play in that NSIC tournament. Once again, as Sarah Cook always has that team right there in the mix. They'll be at home this weekend as well. But that's going to help wrap up our show here. Speaking of UMary Soccer, Olivia Gardner from University of Mary earning Offensive Player of the Week honors for the Marauders in their 2 wins across the weekend. Scored the game-winning goal in both games. Tied for 3rd in the NSIC last week with 2 points per game, ranks 3rd in the NSIC in goals with 9. So Olivia Gardner getting some much-deserved recognition for the Marauders soccer program. They'll be at home on Friday and on Sunday as they make that push for the NSIC tournament. That'll wrap it up for here on another edition of the Dakota Drive, a rainy Monday afternoon as we get ready to set things off and get prepared for the week. Have a great week, and we will see you right back here next week, same time, 2 to 3 p.m. Central, right here on KFYR+.